All right, welcome to the newest podcast on the Tipsy Tailgate. It's called Inside the Glass with Benny and Camp. Camp, introduce yourself. Let the fans know who you are.
What's up? I'm Camp. I'm one of Benny's teammates from Quinnipiac. Newest guy on the Tipsy Tailgate train. Pretty excited to start this off, get it going, talking about some hockey. Benny thinks he's the best hockey mind in the game. Definitely not. That's gonna be me. People come to me for my takes, not Benny. So let's start it off right there.
All right, I love it. Camp's a great guy, probably the most talented member of Tipsy Tailgate Media now, taking my spot because I'm much more talented than Aiden. But we're just going to start off with a quick 2021-2022 recap. Obviously, the Avs winning the Cup. Camp, just talk about that a little bit. How great were the Avs this year?
They were a wagon from the beginning, dude. It was like, I thought from the beginning it was so clear it was going to be them and probably Tampa again. Cale Makar just took another step from where he was last year, and he was already that good last year. Then he has Devon Taves. They get over from the Islanders, where they stole him from the Islanders, Quinnipiac boy. Darcy Kemper comes in, and he plays well. And then they just Nate Dogg turned it on, Nate McKinnon turned it on, and the rest was history. There's no way they weren't winning.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. The last couple of years, I'd say it's kind of and when the Penguins won one of their cups a couple of years ago, I'd say when the Avs won, when Tampa won, and when Pittsburgh won the second time, I'd say it's one of the only times I can remember in hockey where I was like, all right, I think this team's going to win from wire to wire throughout the whole season. You usually don't see that in the NHL. It's usually a wild card type team that comes in and gets hot in the playoffs, but it's a little wild that we've seen a few dominant teams, I'd say, in the last 10 years that from wire to wire just look like the favorite, then they get it done. But just to get into I'm going to get into some of the major awards from the Las Vegas NHL Awards. Hart Trophy, Austin Matthews. I thought it was one of the best seasons by an American-born player ever. Obviously, Camp, do you want to dive into that a little bit?
I thought so too. I didn't even think. I think it was McJesus. McDavid was up for it too with him and Shesterkin, and I thought it was Matthews and Shesterkin anyways. I didn't think Shesterkin was going to win it, so it had to be Matthews. I mean, he threw up 60 goals.
Yeah.
How do you not give the guy the Hart?
No, listen, pretty incredible season. I'd say, he's on the trajectory, right now to be the second or third best American player ever after a season like that. I'd say Kane's one. I would say Patrick Kane is number one.
Yeah. If Matthews throws up another 3-4 60-goal seasons, though, then you're like, all right, well.
Then there's an argument there, but he also has
to score goals. It's harder to score goals in the NHL than it is to get assists, obviously. If he puts up 60 goals 5 times, then you're like, all right, that's the best.
No, I agree 100%. And then you also look at it when Kane passed Madonna, who I originally thought was the best American player ever. I was like, well, no one's going to pass Madonna to be the second best player ever. And then you see Matthews doing what he's doing. So it's kind of a testament to him and what he's done so far in his young career.
Yeah, tough day for Madonna.
Yeah, really tough. Poor guy. And then obviously the Norse got Cale Makar. One of the best seasons by a young defenseman. It's pretty crazy how good these guys are getting in the NHL today. I'd say Cale Makar. He reminds me of Bobby Orr. It sounds crazy to say, but he plays just like Bobby Orr. It's
ridiculous. Everybody would always say, obviously we didn't get to watch Bobby Orr, but everybody always has said he was the fastest guy alive. Cale Makar, and if you put McDavid and Makar to next to each other, I don't think it's going to be a huge difference. I think a lot of people would be surprised at how fast Cale Makar is too.
The one thing about it is I think McDavid might have a little bit quicker of a takeoff than Makar, but when Makar gets going, I think he can keep up with anyone in the league.
Yeah, his crossovers on the blue line, when he walks the blue line, it's like he explodes. He's across the blue line in 2 seconds. It's wild.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I think the NHL is in great hands the next decade. So
I know, right?
Crazy. Honestly. You look at the top 10 players in the league, and most of them are younger players. I would still consider McKinnon a younger player. Obviously McDavid's a young player. Matthews a younger player. Makar a very young player, and I'd say that could be in the top 5 right there. Those could be the guys in that group.
What do you think's like your prime? 27 to 30?
I would say your prime is probably 28 to 32 in that area.
Right around there, and they're all still not. I think everyone you named isn't even in their prime.
Isn't even there yet. So it's pretty crazy. And then what is Matthews and McDavid and Matthews obviously don't have a cup, but you look at Makar and McKinnon, who just won a cup, and I think they're going to get 3 or 4 more with how good and how young they are. with a great leader like Landeskog, which is what it takes to win multiple cups, a great captain like that. So not to get off track here, but my favorite award each and every year, Selke Trophy, and that's because the GOAT, Patrice Bergeron, wins it nearly every fucking year, and he deserves it.
Yeah.
He's just the man. We both love Bergie, so if you want to touch upon Bergie a little bit, happy birthday, by the way. It was his birthday yesterday, I believe. Bergie Day in Boston and Poppy Day as well, so a great day for Boston fans. So,
I mean, dude,
touch upon Bergie a little.
Bergeron, I mean, first most handsome man possibly on the face of the earth. Let's just start with that and give the man credit where it's due. That was, I think he was close to 60% on his draws this year, which, I mean, isn't that crazy with Bergeron? But again, like 60% is wild.
Think about what you just said.
Right.
Almost 60%, and it's not that big of a deal for the guy. It just shows how good he is, really.
Insane. And this was one of his better years defensively out of every year that he's played. And now he's close to even saying he's retiring or he's right about to be done. It's like, how can you go out on that? At some point, they got to name the trophy after him.
Oh, I think they should. The day after he retires, they should name the trophy after him. And another thing about Bergie, as you just said, this was his best defensive season. It really was. I watch almost every single Bruins game, diehard fan, love Bergie, just like you. And really, when I'm watching the game, I'm really watching him. That's all I watch for, is to watch him, because, we don't know how many more seasons we have with him left, obviously on the verge of retirement. But I watch him very closely when he plays. I don't think I've ever seen him at this level defensively that he was at this year. But the Jack Adams Trophy for Coach of the Year, I thought he was definitely deserving. Easily the guy. Daryl Sutter. I just love this guy.
Yeah, I think he's the man. I think he's so funny. His press conferences are hilarious. I just think he's good stuff. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's the man. He's good shit. And then the Art Ross, obviously McDavid, the guy who I think is the best player in the world, the guy who I think everyone thinks is the best player in the world. I think he's the best athlete in the world across all sports.
Yeah, I mean, he's just complete. I'm the only person that comes to like mind. I mean, Tom Brady, way better than Peyton Manning, but Tom Brady and LeBron, like those are the two guys like growing up thinking about like who's dominated completely all the time. McDavid, since he has stepped on the ice, has been like insanely dominant. His first year, he was lighting it up. Probably going to put up close to 100 points his first year, gets hurt, couldn't. And every year after that, he's put up 100 points. Like it's not even comparable. I think he's the best player on earth. And I'd say right behind him is Cale Makar, we already talked about. But
honestly, you look at McDavid and the way he's going, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets close to 200 points one year. And I don't feel like that's blasphemy or over exaggerating at all. I think he could hit like the 180 mark. It's pretty insane what he's able to do out there.
Definitely.
And then you're a goalie, so why don't you touch upon this one, the Vezina? How'd you feel about Igor this season?
He was clearly the best goalie of the entire year. I mean, I think the Rangers were like a big surprise this year. Definitely surprised me anyways. And a lot of that comes from Shesterkin just standing on his head. Every single game, he was making 5 saves that you're like, what the fuck? Like, how is this guy making that save? Yeah. He was super consistent, never really had a bad game. They could always count on him. The people in New York love him. They lost Lundqvist, and he steps right in and takes the spot. Like, that guy is built for big games, and he's still pretty young. He lit up the KHL before coming here. He knows how to win games. He knows how to play under pressure. They're in very, very good hands. And he was so deserving and dominant this year.
Yeah. And just to touch upon what you said a little bit, it's hard to fill legend shoes, and he filled Lundqvist's shoes. Honestly, he's got to be right there. If he keeps it up the next couple of years, he's got to be right there with Lundqvist. So Igor, obviously a phenomenal season. And then Joe Sakic, GM of the year. He's been deserving of this since really he took over outside of the years where they were tanking a little bit. But, that was with a purpose, obviously, for where they are now. But yeah, Joe Sakic just, to me, he's the best GM in the league. And it showed winning the cup, obviously.
Yeah, I think back a couple years ago, they were saying they might need to trade Landeskog. That was one thing that I'd seen earlier this season was they were talking about the Bruins trading Landeskog for Brandon Carlo and like a pick a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Like, think about how different their careers would be right now, and that the Avalanche would have been with Brandon Carlo instead. Like, that is just a wild thing.
That would have been absolute fleasing.
Oh,
absolute fleasing.
And Joe Sakic like didn't crumble under the pressure. He just said, like, I'm sticking with what I'm going to do. He knew he was going to get there. He believed in the guys. That's a lot of confidence to have in your team. And I think he made obviously a really good decision, was deserving of that award too.
100%. So Camp, your biggest surprise, good and bad, from this past season, the 2021-2022 NHL season.
I already said my good this year. I think the Rangers are the biggest surprise for me. I expect the Rangers. I've said it for a while. I thought that the Rangers are going to get better. I think they're going to be a contender in the next couple of years. Again, they have Shesterkin. They have a lot of young guns that they're getting. They got Zibanejad, and then our Panarin, like Kreider's throwing up 50 goals. Like they're a really good team. I was just surprised how fast that they got there. I didn't think it was going to happen this year. I really didn't think they were going to go that far. The kid line was unbelievable. Those kids, there was a shift they had in the playoffs where they were in the zone for 2 minutes and scored a goal in the Garden. Wild. Shesterkin, again, Vezina, and just so much faster than I really thought they were going to be. That's my three main. What's your big?
That's a good one. I can't knock it at all, but a team that pops out to me, I thought they would be good, but they were phenomenal to me. The Minnesota Wild, they were great this season. I did not expect them to be as good as they were. Obviously, they have young talent. To me, they have the best third line in hockey with Eriksson Ek and Greenway and Marcus Foligno. I just think that's a perfect line, the way they fit together and the way they just go out there and bang bodies, play defense, and they can score a couple goals. So, yeah, I have to go with the Minnesota Wild. It was, I mean, going into last offseason, they looked a bit in panic mode. What, they had to buy out Parise, and they also had to buy out Suter. Was that 2 years ago or a year ago? Either way, that's a pretty quick rebuild on the fly to have a team like that after two big buyouts like that.
Doesn't hurt when you get a guy like Kaprizov coming over from Cade.
Absolutely, 100%.
I mean, that guy's a severe superstar. It's unbelievable. He's like Huberdeau down in Florida, who now is in Calgary, but he didn't get enough like spotlight how good Kaprizov was. He's wild to watch.
He reminds me. It's weird. He's like, in a weird way, and I'm not just saying this. Because he's Russian. It's weird. He's a mix of like Kovalchuk, Ovi, and Datsuk. Like he has the size of Datsuk. Like the hands of Datsuk, kind of the mindset of a Kovalchuk, and then he has a bomb of a shot that he can just score from anywhere like Ovi. So he's one of my favorite players right now. Camp, who would you say was your biggest surprise in a bad way this season?
I think we might have the same one. I'd be surprised you didn't have it too. Vegas for me was the
100%,
biggest surprise.
100%.
Like, I mean, they have Fleury wins the Vezina last year. He has a pretty reasonable contract for winning the Vezina trophy as the best goalie in the league. They trade him to Chicago for fucking pucks, like legit nothing. Yeah. They put all their marbles in the basket of Leonard, and he shits his pants a little bit and goes a little haywire off the ice. Then they go halfway through the year and they win the Eichel sweepstakes. They bring him in, and he did well with a hurt hand. He still had a hurt hand, but I think obviously, he can do better. Mm-hmm. And then they miss the playoffs. Like, how do you miss the playoffs with that lineup? You have a bunch of superstars that literally everybody's like, this is the team to beat. They were better, probably on paper, I would say better than Colorado. And they just shit their pants, like absolutely shit their pants.
Yeah. Listen, I thought they were going to win the cup this year, especially after they got Eichel. I was like, damn, like this is the team to beat in the NHL now. And then they just fell apart, as you said. And some of it had to do with health. Obviously, Stone was out for a little bit, but still, they had this coming for a long time. They've been treating a lot of their players, especially Fleury, like shit. They don't treat them well. They're not very loyal to them. They just kick them to the curb whenever they're done with them. I hate Vegas. From the moment they stepped into the league, I hated Vegas.
How many coaches have they had, and they've been in the league for 4 years?
I think 3 or 4. They've had 3 or 4.
Like, what are you doing with that's brutal. That's fucking embarrassing.
When's the last time? Sorry to cut you off. When's the last time a team went to the cup and 3 years later they've had 3 different coaches?
Honestly, I don't know.
It doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't happen.
Not happen.
That happened, dude. It's embarrassing to the league. It's a little bit embarrassing to the league. First off, that they made it that far their first season. I think the league, like when Seattle came in, they updated the way that the players were picked, the expansion draft, because of how good Vegas was. I think it was a little bit of a fluke, but also just, Vegas did a good job of that. Yeah. And that was embarrassing for the league, I think, because it made other teams that have been in the league and not done anything for a long time look bad. Yeah. And now they're looking bad at the exact opposite way for the league, because now they've fallen apart completely, and they had a huge fan base. And I don't know how that's going to survive if they continue to make their players, like their beloved players like Fleury, look like a trash bucket.
Well, listen, I agree with you, but I've never thought that they had like a real fan base. I feel like they just had people who got hammered and just went to the game. Like they didn't really have like a secure fan base. Obviously, they were going when they went to the Cup the first year, but who wouldn't go to that? If you just have a random sports team, one of the 4 major sports league, and they make a championship run right away, who doesn't buy a ticket and who doesn't like sell at the crowd like that? So
how long do they last the fan base? Do you think if they continue to do that and like upset? I mean, now I don't think they're going to upset like that again. But if they're to keep making these mistakes and turnover shit like that, how long do you think the fans stay?
I think these next 2 seasons they have to make a deep run.
Yeah,
they could miss it this season and then fix it with a deep cup run in 2 years. But within these next 2 years, they have to make a deep, legit run.
100%. 100% agree.
But just to add a little bit of a flavor to this, because, we both had Vegas, just to add another team. I thought the Islanders were abysmal this season.
Oh, yeah.
Abysmal. And we're going to touch upon this a little bit later. But why are you firing Barry Trotz?
Wild. I can't believe that. I mean, they started the season. First off, let's just look at the management to start the season, because they fucked up by going to the Barclays Center, made it so that people didn't want to play there anymore. Yeah. I know for a fact that people did not want to play for that team because of how bad travel was on Long Island trying to get to the Barclays Center. People didn't want to go to games there.
They weren't even living in their own homes. They were sleeping in hotels.
It was terrible to play in the arena. There were seats where you couldn't see. There was there was a car on the glass. It was an absolute fucking joke. So then they now have to, tuck their tail between their legs and build a new rink. Now they have a brand new rink, but they couldn't even get it ready for their season. So now they're starting the season 17 games on the road. Like that's I'm sorry to say it to anybody that's from Long Island that might listen, but that's Long Island trash right there in a fucking perfect picture. That is Long Island trash.
That's some Sal Giliberto trash right there.
That is trash.
That is bad.
That is trash.
Bad. No, they knocked out the Bruins a couple years ago. They made a deep run to the East Final 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I used to respect them. This was a dumpster fire of a season. That was bad. That was really bad. Like really bad.
I hope they can
really embarrassing. And firing Trotz is embarrassing. Really embarrassing.
I wish the Bruins picked them up. That was a huge mistake. They got rid of Devon Taves, and then they got rid of Barry Trotz. Those are 2 huge.
I think he might be the best coach in the NHL. He really could be. He's right there. He's 1, 2, or 3. He's got to be in the top 3. The guy won a cup with Alex Ovechkin as his captain. I love Ovi. Ovi's a top 10 player of all time. He is not a leader.
Oh, not a leader. Yeah. I think I agree with that. I think it's Rod the Bod, Barry Trotz. Those are and Cooper down in Tampa. Those are the top 3 right there.
I got to give Mike Sullivan some love too. I know he has Sid and Gino, but I love that guy. He's a great coach.
Old Bruins coach too. Good guy.
He was great with the Bruins.
They suck.
All right, Cam. Off-season team grades. Let's start with let's alternate. We'll go 1 our best and then 1 our worst. So we have 3 for each, but we'll go 1 is our best and then 1 is our worst.
All right. My best, the team that did the best in the off season.
Yes.
I think the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
I think the Hurricanes did the best.
Same one. We have the same number 1.
I think they did the best. They let me grab my phone. I had a picture of their lineup that was wild. They get rid of Tony DeAngelo, which, I mean, he played well in the playoffs and he was an animal, but he didn't really do much on the power play when they needed him. He's kind of a problem off the ice. Even
almost blew it against the Bruins. He did almost blow that series against the Bees.
He did almost blow the series for them. That's not a good look for them.
To your point, they lose DeAngelo, but you replace him with Brent Burns,
right?
In my opinion, just as much, and he's a great locker room guy.
Then they get Max Pacioretty for nothing. So listen to their 4 lines. Ready? Max Pacioretty, Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis, Svechnikov, Kokniemi, Teravainen, Jesper Fast, Jordan Stahl, Andre Kasha, which Andre Kasha's done. He's trash. But Jordan Martinook, Jack Drury, Martin Natius. Then on D, Slavin Burns, Shea Pesci, Bear McGall, and whoever the fuck that is. And then think about what they were in the playoffs last year. They were an absolute beast to play, and then they still didn't have Freddie Anderson in that. I mean, that's a good team, and they did a lot of big moves in the offseason for not much money.
Listen, you see in the NFL all the time, you're like, this team's a quarterback away. Yeah. Last year, the Hurricanes in the playoffs were a goalie away, and now they have that goalie, and it's up to Freddie Anderson not to shit himself like he did in Toronto.
Literally.
So we'll see if that's a Leafs thing or a Freddie Anderson thing. But it's trending towards a Leafs thing, but it could be both. It
Yeah.
could be both.
Yeah. Who do you got as your worst?
So for my worst, I went with the Vegas Golden Knights. I don't respect them at all. Why are you giving up Pacioretty? Like,
Yeah.
you find a way to make that work.
Yeah.
When you bring in a center like Eichel and you have a wings like Pacioretty and Stone, that could be the best line in hockey. You don't sacrifice that for a guy like Riley Smith. Like that's why they did it, to keep Riley Smith. Like, are you kidding me? Of all guys to be loyal to in Vegas, you pick Riley Smith.
Yeah,
Like, that makes no sense to me.
That's a tough move. This is a weird one, but I had the Oilers a little bit. And my thought process on the matter is their biggest issue last year, I think when you just said the quarterback, you're one quarterback away, I think they were a goalie away.
Yeah.
I think they were a goalie away. And then I'm starting to think, and you look at the other teams in the Western Conference specifically, then you have the Avs, and you might not like Vegas, but Vegas has a bunch of superstars. Yep. And the Blues play really hard playoff hockey. The Oilers, they upgraded their goalie for Jack Campbell, who hasn't done so much to prove himself for that kind of deal. And then what else did they do? I mean, they got Evander Kane back, but not much more. They lost Duncan Keith. Where did they go from where they were last year besides getting their goalie from an F, who was the worst goalie in the league, to a C?
And that what they did, the move that they made, it made them from getting swept in the conference final to now you can push it to 6 in the conference final. It's really, which, I mean, you did improve your roster in a way. Technically you did. But are you going to advance around? I don't think so. I don't see them advancing to the cup final off that.
No, and I think it's just it's tough for the league when you have Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, the best two of the best players on earth, that can't get to the finals or even put up a great fight in the conference finals. I just think that's bad for the league, and I also think that's just a huge mistake for the Oilers. They need to make some moves, and they need to make them fast before McDavid's time on this contract and Draisaitl is up, and they don't have any more time, and they want to go somewhere else to win.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. A team that I wanted to give a little bit of credit was Washington here. I actually wanted to give them a little bit of credit. I'm not usually the kind of person to do this, but you lose Ilya Samsonov, who, in my opinion, is one of the 3 worst players in the NHL. I think that guy blows. I think he is so bad, so bad. And I understand Darcy Kemper. He's not Jesus, but
no.
He's not a bad goalie. He just won the cup.
He upgraded. They upgraded, definitely.
I think that
bust.
If you look at it, I think that we just said this with the Oilers, they don't advance around. I think Washington advances around based off the moves that they've made. They added a lot of good depth. They had a new goalie. And then, Obi's probably, his last 2 years of his prime. He's going to have a 50-goal season because he's chasing the goal record, and he's going to do whatever it takes to get it. So I got to give Washington some credit. They impressed me.
Yeah, I'm going to give I'll give my last shout out to the Sens. I think the Sens did a really good job this year. 3 years ago, they were an absolute dumpster fire. Yeah. Now they bring in Giroux, and then they brought in who they brought
the Brinken trade was
another one. I have to add this. They got rid of the fucking worst goalie, the biggest fraud in NHL history, Matt Murray. Getting rid of him is the biggest accomplishment that the Ottawa Senators franchises ever made in their entire lives. That guy is a fraud. He's terrible.
Yeah, I don't think, has there ever been a player in sports, maybe outside of Trent Dilfer? I don't know who Trent Dilfer is, but he was the worst quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl. I've never seen a player like Matt Murray impacted more by great players around him. That guy got carried.
Oh,
absolutely carried.
They could have put a trash bin with a pair of pads on it into the net for those Penguins teams and still won the cup.
And think about the sad part. They had Marc-Andre Fleury riding pine. That's embarrassing.
And then he wins the Vezina 2 years later. They threw him away. They just threw him away for a bag of
That's where the Marc-Andre Fleury disrespect train started, and then Vegas finished it. So, wow. It drives me nuts. Guys, one of the 3 best goalies I've ever seen in my life. I love Marc-Andre Fleury.
Oh, me too.
One of the most clutch athletes I've ever seen. And you don't start him over Matt Murray. I've never understood that. I've never understood
the save that he made against the Detroit Red Wings with 4 seconds left.
Oh my God, with the shoulder, just jump over the shoulder.
That is goalie porn right there. That is a great fucking save. I can't believe it. And he's clutch. he had a tough go when he was in Pittsburgh, and then them throwing him away, then Vegas throwing him away, then Chicago being actually a good team.
I've never seen a more disrespected player in the history of sports for how great they are and how they've been treated in return. 100%. It's unbelievable. And then I wanted to shit on Chicago a little bit. They're just a joke. And it's not even that you're rebuilding. I understand rebuilding. It happens in sports, especially in a sport where you have a hard cap. I get it. The Bruins went through it, 5 years ago? They rebuilt on the fly. They fine-tuned some pieces. Chicago's not even doing that.
No.
No identity. Nothing. Zero identity. The one established NHL player that they have on their roster that they won't be moving, because I think they're going to move both Kane and Taves. I think they're both out of the door. Seth Jones.
Yeah.
He's not even that good anymore. Like, he was good 4 years ago. He was a really good player on Columbus. And when the Bruins played him in the playoffs, when they went to the Cup in 2019, I was like, damn, Werenski and Jones, that's an elite D pair.
Yeah.
Absolutely elite D pair.
And then they get rid of him, and they sign. So the thing with that kind of bugs me is, what is Chicago doing? Like, make up your mind here. What are you doing? Yeah. Why would you? They just signed him last year, didn't they? They ate like $9 million a year, and then you sell off your whole team the next season. Why even bring the guy in, and why even do that? You could have just not taken that huge salary on, had a huge gap, signed somebody huge this year, waited for the season this year, and then we're going to talk about it anyways, but maybe you could have had a chance at Johnny Gaudreau. Yeah. You could have had a chance at Johnny Gaudreau if you just not signed somebody to a huge, massive contract, blown your load way too early, lost, and now have to rebuild. It was just a terrible decision, and I don't know what the hell they're doing in Chicago, especially off the ice too, with all the shit they've been going through. I just don't know what's going on over there.
I agree. Chicago, like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
It's so bad.
It's so bad. All right, we're gonna speed through a couple of these hires. Camp, just give your grade, and then I'll give mine after. Bruce Cassidy to the Vegas Golden Knights.
An A. I gave it an A.
Gave it a C+. I think he's a douche.
Yeah,
all right, two. Boston hiring Jim Montgomery.
I'm going to give it a B because I think he's actually a good guy for the younger players, but I think that Bruce Cassidy's probably a better coach, like X's and O's wise. So
I agree 100%. I went B+ because I think he's more of a player's coach, and I think that he already has the respect of Bergie, who's going to come back. We all know he's going to come back. We know it. I'm going to knock on some wood. I'm knock on some wood, but we know he's coming back. And then I think we're going to find a way to get Crutch as well. Obviously, there's some moving pieces. The reason I think that we haven't gotten that done yet is because we have so many moving pieces that hasn't been finalized yet. So we have their contracts penciled in right now, and we have to wait for those assets to be moved. And then as soon as they're moved, we're going to sign them to those contracts. But regardless, how do you feel about John Tortorella to the Philadelphia Flyers?
All right, this one we might have to talk about because I think my grade's you go first with your grade, then I'll go with my grade with this one.
Okay, so I'm very biased because I love Torts.
Me too.
And this was more about him being back in the league than the fit itself. So I went A+. So.
Okay. All right. So not biased at all. No, I went the exact opposite way. And I went with a D. I think that is that, but I also love John Tortorella. I love Torts. He's a walking sound.
I just love that he's back in the league. We were missing some magic the last couple of years.
If we're going off of content that's going to make me laugh, we'll go with an A+. That is going to be an absolute joke with Kevin Hayes and then Tony DeAngelo. But if you actually it's going to be a disaster, dude.
Oh my God.
You're going to want them to play hard, and it's going to be Kevin Hayes joking in the locker room and Tony DeAngelo causing issues. There is no way that this ends good. And then Carter Hart, he's going to have Carter Hart in net, and Carter Hart seems to be a little bit of a basket case. A little bit. It's going to be in it. Dude, this is bad fucking news.
This is going to be bad. This is going to be really bad. But I am here for it. I think it's a bad
car crash. You can't take your eyes. It's a bad car crash. You can't take your eyes off.
It's going to be unreal. All right, Cam. How do we feel about our way too early Cup final predictions?
All right. I got, we've already talked about both teams. I originally for the West, I'm going to say West first. Originally for the West, I did have Vegas written down for a second. And I was thinking, yes, they shit their pants last year, but they do have Eichel. And hopefully Leonard can bounce back because you can see that the guy does have the skill to do it. And then they have a new coach, which Bruce does do a good job when he first gets there. It seems like he just overstays his welcome a little bit.
Yeah.
He did a good job when he was there, and he does know.
Wears you down. Just wears down the players. Wears them down.
Right. He can't stay for very long. Yeah. So I think that they were going to be good this year. And then I completely changed my pick back. I went back to the Avs. And the reason was they upgraded in net. They got Georgiev. I think Georgiev's better than Darcy Kemper is. I don't think Darcy Kemper is actually very good. I think he was a Matt Murray a little bit. He's much better than Matt Murray, but a little bit where he had that crazy team in front of him. I think they get Georgiev. They still have Cale Makar, who's gotten better every year. They have Devon Taves, who's gotten better every year. And then they have the best GM in the league, and they have a very good coach, and they have a ton of skill up front. So that's why I'm going with the Western Conference is the Avs again. I think they're just going to come back.
Yeah, I can't knock it. I went the same thing, so obviously I can't knock it. They're just a wagon. They're unreal.
They're fucking
unreal.
They're nasty.
They're so good. And then out of the East, I know this team has struggled a little bit in the playoffs, and in a weird way, the way the team has been built, how close the coach is with his players, how much he fits in with the fabric of the team. It reminds me of the way that the Bruins used to be built. When Bergie was young, they had Luch. Kretsch was young, they had Z, and then Claude just fit the fabric of the Bruins. Yeah. And I think Rod the Bod does the same thing for the Carolina Hurricanes. So I have the Hurricanes going to the Cup final next year.
Fucking A, dude, you are right on with me again. Yeah, I had the same thing. I had the lineup that I read earlier is just disgusting. Up and down, they have guys that can grind. They can score. Power play, they're going to have penalty kill. And then on defense, they have big bodies that they don't get like the Bruins. They have an issue with like Grizzly, smaller defensemen. They don't have any of that. They have a bunch, and they just got bigger with Brent Burns. They're going to be that much better. They have the goaltending that they didn't get to use last year, and they made it so far with that. I think they're the team to beat. I think they're building something special in Carolina.
I agree. And look at the hardships they've gone through already. They got their asses kicked in 2019 in the East Final. They beat Washington, I believe, that year in the first round. They beat Washington in 7 games. So they've been through a lot, obviously, already. I think it's a growing process in the NHL more than maybe any other league in the playoffs, because the playoffs itself is a grind, and then you have other teams to play. So you're playing 2 opponents, really. So yeah, I went with Carolina. And then let's speed through these next 2 topics real quick.
Wait. Who you got winning the Cup?
Oh, I got Carolina.
Yeah, me too.
Colorado in the Cup.
I think so too. I think the stamina. I think the long playoffs of this past year is actually going to make a difference on the Hurricanes. I mean, on the Avs, like not like you saw from the Lightning. I guess they did really well, but I just think the Hurricanes, dude, are just too dangerous this year. I think they're going to be fucking disgusting.
Yeah, they're going to be unreal. And then Camp. Let's speed through these 2 topics right here. Johnny Gaudreau. Why do you think he picked Columbus? Because I can't comprehend it.
I think you want to be closer to home. I think the Flyers said that they wouldn't take him. They weren't going to move shit for him. I don't think he wanted to go to Jersey very much. I mean, who wants to play in fucking Jersey? And I don't think anybody else could have taken him around the area. They had a lot of cap room. He gets to play with Patrick Laine. Patrick Laine wants to turn it on. And he gets to be a safe distance away from home where he doesn't have to be, seen all the time and be big in the media. Because I think that was a problem for him in Calgary, is he couldn't have his own life without people stopping him on the streets. And you're not going to get that in Columbus being a hockey player.
It is the exact opposite. When you put it like that, they are polar opposites.
100%. That's what I think. I think it's crazy, but
I agree. As a pure hockey fit, it just doesn't make sense to me. But Pat Kane, where do you think he's going?
I think I got the Rangers. I think the Rangers would be the best fit for him. I know the Rangers have about $4.5 million in cap space. He's a big contract. So I think the Rangers are going to, I would think that the Blackhawks would have to retain some of your salary.
Yeah, I believe they already said that they would. They said that they would.
And I think he's done so much for that organization. They love him there. Obviously, they don't want to see him go, but they want to respect his wishes. And I think he wants to go to the Rangers, and I think that's where he's going to end up being. I would say a couple firsts and Lafreniere, and then they take some of his salary cap back, and I think they can make that fit in New York.
Listen, it's not a bad pick at all. It's the team that I probably would have gone with had you not, but for sake of variety here, he's going home.
You think?
He's going to the Buffalo Sabres.
No,
I think they're building a real culture there for the first time in a long time. And I think they'll give up whatever it takes, really. I think they'll give up 5 first-round picks and whatever prospect they want. I really do. And I think, and they can take on the whole contract. They can take on the whole contract because they're not paying anybody. So I see the culture there. I think Tuck and Kane and Olofsson and Dahlin would be great captains for them. Great players to build around. Obviously, the greatest American ever is not a bad guy to build around. So yeah, it might not be the most realistic one, But I got Pat King going home. And sadly, that will do it for our first episode here on Inside
Whoa,
the
whoa.
Glass.
We got one more thing, Benny. Who do you got as your biggest surprise and good and bad for next season?
Okay,
Wow.
so for my biggest surprise in a good way, I had the Detroit Red Wings. I think that they're building quite a good culture there with Yzerman, one of the best GMs in sports, obviously. Built Tampa. That Tampa team is his team. That is his team. He built it from the ground up. So I got Yzerman in the Red Wings as the biggest surprise next year. Who do you got?
I have the same thing. I again, another, I'm a lineup like geek. I look at, they brought in Ville Husso from St. Louis, who I think is better than Binnington. I think that they're just loyal to Binnington now because he won him a cup, which was a sham. But and they have Alex Nedeljkovic. So they have two really good goaltenders that are
That Stanley Cup final was fucking rigged.
The final was rigged. And then you look at their four lines: Lucas Raymond, Larkin, Bertuzzi, Vrana.
I love that line. Sorry to cut you off. I love that line.
The first line?
Yeah, absolutely love it.
And then you look at their second line, you have Kopp, Perron, and Vrana, who's another great line. That's that's gonna be a tough line to play against.
I love Kopp.
Yeah.
I think Perron's a piece of shit, but I respect him as a player.
Yeah.
Because he plays so hard, but he's a dick. But Andrew Kopp, I thought, was one of the best offseason moves all summer. I thought it was phenomenal.
And then they have Seider coming off the what did he win the
he just won the Rookie of the Year.
Yep, the Calder. And then you have Ben Sherratt, and then again the goalies. I think they made a lot of really good moves in the offseason. I think he's rebuilding much faster than anybody thought they were. I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine that's a Red Wings fan just the other day, and he said, give them in the next 5 years, they're winning a cup. And I couldn't even be like,
you can't blame them for that. And especially for the fact that they have a lot of cap space too. They're making these really good moves and they still have a lot of room, a lot of wiggle room left. So imagine they're in the next couple of years, they're on a good run in the regular season, looking like a for sure playoff team. And then you had two big pieces at the deadline. That's a Stanley Cup team. Two big pieces.
More and they're there. They are going to be a very good team, and he's doing it again. Stevie Y is fucking doing it again, and
he's just a dealer. He's a wheeler and dealer. He's unreal.
Oh yeah, he's the new Lou Lamoriello, I think.
Oh yeah,
he's the new Lou Lamoriello.
He's and it's, I don't know. It's just something about maybe players should just be GMs because you got Sakic in Colorado just killing it. Cam Neely used to be really good.
Well, Don Sweeney's the GM, and that guy's a brick anyway. So maybe they shouldn't actually have players be Don Sweeney. Brick, we're going to talk about this.
Sweeney blows, but no, good players should be GMs.
Well, when we're looking on the bad side, bringing up the Bruins, the one bad surprise team. I have two teams that are in my head. I have the Pittsburgh Penguins, who I think they're getting older. I think they brought Letang back and Malkin back because Crosby wanted it, not because it was the best decision for their team. And I think that's where teams sometimes get into issues. I think they've been such a good team with their their pickups and stuff. That's why they've been able to win so many cups. I think that was a bad decision. I don't think that's going to pay off. The Letang deal was too long.
I agree with you that maybe it wasn't the best thing for the team, but I can appreciate the fact that you've won these cups with these guys. They're all going to have their numbers retired. And Sid wanted to retire with Gino. I think they deserve to retire together.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that my other bad team, though, I don't want to say it, Benny. I really don't want to say it. Maybe we should just cut the Zoom.
So you don't have to.
I think the Boston Bruins are going to have some trouble this year. I really do think they're going to have some trouble. And I'll tell you why. They don't have McAvoy, Marchand, Grzelcyk to start the year. That's for sure.
Can I retort?
No, not until I'm done. And then you don't know if Bergey's coming back.
He is.
Which you think he is, but you don't know yet. And you don't know about Krejci. Right now, this Bruins team right now with nothing left, nothing else. No Bergeron, no Krejci.
Well, right now as they're constructed, they're not even a surprise. They're just bad.
What they have right now constructed, they are going to be bad. They're going to be bad. They're going to be bad. If they don't pick something else, who are you going to put in the middle? Who are you going to put in the middle? You're going to put Forsback or Carlson?
No, but I'm not JFK.
No. What are you going to do?
No, they're not gonna have this lineup when the season starts. This is how it's gonna go. They're gonna bring Berge and Krejci back. They're gonna be on low-level contracts, heavily incentive-based. So when they each get their 60 plus points, then they make their money, and it won't be that damaging to the cap. Now, I understand what you're saying. about Marshawn and McAvoy and who else was it? Was it Gresley? Did you say Gresley? I hope he's hurt the whole year.
I hope he's out the entire year. Oh man.
So I understand your concern about McAvoy and Marshy being hurt.
Mhm.
However, the Bruins notoriously start slow when they're 100% healthy. True or false?
True. They're a tough team to start.
They don't start well the first month and a half of the season, I would say. When they won the cup in 2011, they started 2012, 10 games under 500? They were horrible. They were absolutely abysmal.
Horrible.
They had to scrap back the rest of the season to get back into the playoffs. So they're going to start slow regardless. You might as well get them back later in the season because they always get hurt in the fucking playoffs. So you might as well be healthy and only play 60 games in the regular season and not be hurt in the second round like you are every single season. And you made the suitable adjustments to replace a guy like McAvoy for the first month of the season. You have Hampus Lindholm, who I think can be a number one defenseman, but he becomes an elite defenseman when he's the number two option, which is what he is when McAvoy's in the lineup.
But Benny, you have to think about it. We talked about it already. Which team in front of the Bruins that was higher in the rankings than them got worse? Which team got worse than them? Nobody.
Florida.
Nobody got worse than them. And what teams below them got better than them?
A lot.
The Red Wings got better.
No, I agree.
The Senators got better. The Canadians are going to be bad, but they're probably going to be better than they were last year. They suck, but they're going to be better. Florida's still really good. Tampa's still really good. Toronto's really good. The Hurricanes are really good. The Rangers are really good. The Penguins are still going to be around. I don't think they're going to be as good.
You just said they were going to suck. Don't put them in this conversation. You just said they were going to.
I'm saying, and I think the Bruins are probably going to suck too if they don't do anything else. So there's five teams right there that you don't. Then the Islanders are going to be better than they were last year. That was a fluke. Like you think about it, how many teams are worse than they were last year? The Bruins are going to be terrible to start the year.
Now you're panicking.
I'm not panicking. I'm being real.
Panicking. You're being very panicky, and you're a mush. So this is a good thing. We're going to win the cup now based on all this.
Yeah.
So you have Pavel Zacha, who they just brought in. Obviously, he's in contract talks. That's not a good thing because they're already in contract talks with Berge and Kretsch. But if you're going to lose one of them, you might as well lose Zacha. Like, fuck you, Zacha. I don't care.
No. See, what they're doing with that is that just gives them more I think that's actually a good decision because he's going to come in with a decent deal anyways. It was going to be around that amount. I think this just holds him off so they don't have to make that deal yet because they want to see how much, like what they're going to have to move and everything else together. Like, I don't think this is a bad thing that he went to arbitration. I don't think he's doing it like in a bad way because he's been in Boston for the summers. He wanted to come to Boston. He was excited for it. So I don't think that him going to arbitration is actually a bad thing for the team towards the salary cap. I think it's more if Bergeron and Krejci want to come back. I think that's what's holding them back.
Now you're making me feel better. I already felt fine going into this, and now I feel better. So you just took your argument and just wiped your ass with it. So what were they missing last year?
What were they missing last year?
One man. They were missing one man. One man.
They were not missing one man.
They were missing one man.
No.
Missing one man.
They need better D.
And they got it. They got it with Hampus Lindholm, but they
had him last year for the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
And they didn't do anything.
Their defense wasn't the issue. Their issue was Eric Halla being the second line center. That is an awful second line center. You cannot win in the NHL unless you have what I would consider an elite center core, which the Bruins have when they have Bergeron, Krejci, and Coyle. That's an elite core of centers. You want one more. This is your last push. Then you want one more year with it. Like that's it. This is it. This is their last. This is their last run. One more kick at the can. That's all we need. If they get it done, it's the greatest run in Boston sports history. If they get it done.
The New England Patriots.
No, I'm talking about a singular season with the expectations on them.
Yes.
Single season. You have one kick at the can. Everyone knows it's their last chance. It's their last dance. It's literally their last dance.
This is it.
If they get it done, that is mwah.
Hey,
what a perfect ending.
You didn't pick them to win it though, Benny. So what's that tell you? What are your decisions?
I was going based on
your heart, not your mind.
Right now. I'm not going to pick a team that doesn't have Patrice Bergeron on it right now.
You're picking with your heart, not your mind right now, buddy.
No,
that's okay, but that's why us guys that are really good at hockey mind, like really good hockey minds, that's why we're the best, and you are just an average fan.
Hey, I'm just happy we're going to be doing this the whole next season when they're the fucking first seed in the league.
Oh, yeah. People are going to be in for some wild stories and a lot of arguing. It's going to be it's gonna get wild on Tipsy Tailgate's
It's gonna be
newest podcast.
be a bit
newest
much.
So,
All right. Thank you for tuning in. We're loving this already. At least I am. Great energy in the first episode. Cam, if you want to say something.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I hope people will actually listen. We're gonna start some doing some fun shit. Definitely. And when we're back at school, it's gonna get a little more wild. Maybe we'll have a couple guests on here and there. People that definitely aren't as funny as me or Benny, but just like some cool people that we like. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Tolerate them.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. Camp, it's a pleasure. Can't wait to do the rest of this with you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's go, baby.